This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Another fine day out here on Djuma Game Reserve. There's a rumbles of thunder above us, but no rain clouds just yet, and it is a sweltering, really warm. Well, I hope that you are all very ready to jump on board for us, because this is your live safari through the African bush. Welcome one and all to your sunset safari this fine Saturday. It is Saturday, I think so. It is hot, like I said, 94 degrees Fahrenheit, 34 degrees Celsius. Hi everyone, it's me, Trishelle. I've got Hippo on camera with me, and we have a big elephant behind us. So I'm going to take this opportunity to swing around so we can have a look at him. And while I do that, I'll remind you all to talk to us. Send us your questions and your comments using that hashtag WildEarth or at FC on the YouTube chat stream. And our lovely kids, you can send your questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. You can also go to our website, sign up and use our question box. All those lovely ways to chat to us this afternoon. Plan was to go to Buffelshoek Dam, where we ended off this morning, in order to find more of these beautiful creatures. Let's have a nice look through there. Hopefully find some swimming about, and that's still the plan, although I think that this guy is a nice taster for what's to come. So good to see so many elephants around, really enjoying the weather that we've been having. You can see that he's quite caked with mud. So he's found some water somewhere and has then thrown some sand onto him so they can use that as a way to get rid of pests as it dries and pulls off, kind of like a waxing strip. And then also to collect moisture in those cracks to keep them cooler for longer and protect them from the sun. Now, the thing is, in a season like this and with the amount of rain we've been getting, every little thunder, every little puddle or every little depression in the ground is filled with water. So counting on watering holes is not as successful a plan as it usually is, say, in the drier times. Because you can't depend on animals coming there, because they can find water anywhere they want. But for a big animal like an elephant, if they want to cool their whole bodies down, then they're going to need a big dam, and I think Buffelshoek Dam is perfect for that. So that's why I want to head up that way. So peaceful. What a gentleman, making his way through the bush, not a care in the world, and not at all bothered by our presence. More often than not, I'm seeing elephants under the shade of a marula tree, and not only for the shade, but also for those juicy fruits, which I also have on board, by the way, because I love marulas. And you've heard so much about the marulas at camp, the ones that are massive compared to the ones outside of camp. And also no elephants can get to it. It's just the monkeys. So we can collect them and eat them. Yes, absolutely. Everybody loves to start the drive off with some elephants. I always think it's such a nice sign. Such a good omen when we start off the drive with some elephants. It fills me with some sort of energy and possibility for the afternoon ahead. There's something very majestic about watching a big bull. He's coming closer to us too. And then hearing this thunder in the background. It's almost as if finally there is something that can suit the size of this magnificent creature, the magnitude of it, that sound of the thunder. See, his eyes are very relaxed. That's another thing that we look for. Because when an elephant is startled or unhappy, their eyes can, or their eyelids peel back quite a bit, and you can see the entire eye. Kind of like they're shocked. If you look between the cracks on his, especially on his side, you can see that it's darker. That's what an example of what I was telling you earlier about how the moisture gets trapped in those wrinkles. And those wrinkles also increase the surface area because they have a large body, a large mass with a rather small surface area, so they can't dissipate heat very well. So the crinkles in their skin allow for greater surface area. He's going around in circles, this guy. You'll be able to hear the francolin shouting behind me. Very, very nice. What a peaceful way to start the day. Or rather, start the end of the day. Lovely. Well, we're going to start moving and make our way towards Bafulsuk Dam and hopefully find more of these creatures. I've told you about the weather in Djuma, 34 degrees Celsius, 94 degrees Fahrenheit, hot, sweaty, and thunderous. But let's see what the weather is like at our other locations.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Eco Training Pridelands, Pridelands Conservancy. Right, we've got a few giraffe in there. This is a female. There's a male who's been walking around having a little bit of a romantic sort of affair with a few of the ladies. He's trying to see who's in estrus. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve. I'm joined by Hyena on camera. And very excited, as always, to have you with us. It is very hot today. It's 34 degrees Celsius, and it says on the app, feels like 42. And it is humid, and there is a huge storm brewing. We can hear the lightning, or we can hear the thunder, should I say. And it most certainly feels like there's going to be a storm dropping on our heads at any point. So we're going to be keeping it pretty close to camp this afternoon, just in case things fall down on our heads. But what's quite interesting is that female there was actually being very frisky and rubbing her neck and running up and down with the male. Then he gave for her a sniff and noticed there wasn't anything too exciting, and she actually looked a little bit pregnant. So I don't quite understand that behavior, but there he's standing looking for the third female that walked across the drainage line. He's considering whether it's worth his effort to go and have a look. He can probably sense one of them's an estrus, or he's smelt the urine of one of them, and he's now ascertained it's not either of these two. possible he might also be looking at another male giraffe on the other side and trying to figure out whether he's got the competitive edge over him, or he might just be chewing the cud, which is what a giraffe do. Not sure if you can hear those ox peckers, but it is very warm this afternoon, everybody. So we just stopped to give you a view because we thought there was going to be some action between these two. But you'll see this lady is quite heavily pregnant there, with a gestation period of 15 months, 14 months. Dizzy Daisy, the animals are covered in fur, so no, they don't get sunburnt. Covered in fur. I've never seen an animal get sunburnt, but you know, when you do get albino animals, they do struggle heavily with lack of pigment. But these animals have evolved in the African wilderness and in this hot sun, so they do very, very well out here. And it's probably one of the reasons why giraffes' tongues are so dark, because they spend a fair bit of time out the body when they feed. And the dark tongue helps with the protection against not only the thorns, but possibly also the sunshine. But I'm going to reverse back, try and find us some shade, because goodness gracious, everybody, this humidity. But I've got my trusty water bottle today, which Johan has not yet said he'd like a little bit of. Johan, I'm sure now you've changed your mind. Yes, it is hot. That humidity that comes before a storm can be quite overwhelming. Here's another nice young lady. And as we saw yesterday, feeding on the buffalo thorn. There's lots of giraffe around in this area. Each day we come out, there's a few of them. She's now just decided to hide inside there. There is the buffalo thorn and the Ziziphus mucronata. Enormous amounts of medicinal properties, cultural properties. Tastes very, very good. But Taylor and myself had a buffalo thorn eat off one day. I don't know if any of you remember. We both went to the same tree and we saw who could pull off more leaves and eat them. Well, we first pulled them all off first. You could pull off the most in a certain amount of time. And I beat her very narrowly, but we were both bleeding afterwards. It wasn't a pleasant experience. And that was with our hands, everybody. Can you imagine sticking your face in there with the sharp forward and hooked thorns? The giraffe with their dark lip and tongue just strips them off. We discussed it yesterday. It's always a marvel to see. Just assisting some students to get here. Go ahead, Paul.
We are approaching 82, so we still go for Impala Plains or Monzo Road.
Yeah, copy, Paul. Just go on to the Monzo Road and then go through the drainage to Impala Plains. So relocate on that side. Just going to move back and around. It's really nice having students around, obviously based in the eco training camp with the students, so nice to have some chats. Kim, it's possible. I've never really looked at the tongue structure of the other browsers, but you don't notice kudu and nyala using their tongues like the giraffe do, like buffalo. Buffalo also quite unique in their tongue for a grazer. They use their tongue to break the grass or rip the grass. Kudu and nyala, it's all lips. I've never seen a kudu using the tongue to pull the vegetation off, so I don't think so. It's definitely not something I've ever discussed. Kudu or nyala tongues, so I think their lips are pretty nimble, very nimble lips. Just going to go through the drainage here to the other side, see if we can get that other boy. Oh, the coolness. Johan, how nice is that water bottle?
Beautiful.
It's how I survived the last 3 years don't know how I never used it before. Oh, there's some elephants in the open plain as well, which is quite wonderful. There's our nice big boy. Let's see what he's going through for. Okay, well, we're going to try and keep ourselves cool. And in the meantime, send you just down the road to Ngala, and hopefully they're not getting too wet.
Some more. There's a good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to And Beyond Ngala, where we have just come across the Pride of Lions. And some of the animals have just gotten up and they're starting to move. There is a giant storm busy brewing in the background with lots of thunder going. And that's usually the first sign for these animals to start moving. Now, I'm Yapi, and behind the camera we've got Owen this afternoon. And it's quite wet here on Ngala. A very unexpected storm that's developed very, very quickly. And the rains literally come out of nowhere. So late this morning we got reports that these guys were found here, and they have stayed here all day, but now that the weather's changed so drastically, you can see there's a change in their behavior as well. There's a lot of yawning going on. That lioness walking there, that's one of the oldest lionesses in the group. One of the oldest too. And we haven't actually seen this pride in such a long time that I can't believe how much they've grown, to be honest. I'm just going to try and reposition a little bit to see if we might get another view. So this is the Pride of Lions with the white lions. And I'm pretty sure in a moment, I just want to give these lions a chance. It looks like the few off in front of us is going to move over to the rest, over to the left on the road. And once that has happened, we'll try and reposition to a point where we might get a good view of the white ones as well. listen to that thunder. It's amazing. I've often noticed that with these cats, once the weather changes drastically like this, the animals suddenly get a lot of energy. Now, I haven't seen all the members of them here, and I don't know exactly who's here and who's not. So I think we're gonna try and see if we can get a good view of the rest of them, because they're laying down. The grass is so tall at the moment, it's practically impossible to see them clearly. And there we go. Now that is a face I haven't seen in a long time. Both, actually. The drops coming down here at the moment is really, really large. And that's why you can see all the animals are getting up and moving into the thick bush. I think we're just going to sit here for a little while and see what is going to happen and what they're going to do.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
Just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The cock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
This is the first leucistic zebra I have ever seen in my life.
Oh, here comes a lion. Run, little guy. Go on.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it?
Has it just pretended to be dead? That is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me. It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live on the Djuma River? It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
Look at that little zebra about to be born. There's the head. Oh, you clever mare. Well done.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
So you can see it's now really starting to rain, and most of, especially the older animals, they've all moved into under that, it looks like a large fruited bush willow. And you can see there's also the young male, the one that's had the limp, and from what I could see, it was still limping now when it got up. And they've all gone for the cover. Now this is very interesting. We haven't seen these lions in an extremely long time. In fact, I probably haven't seen them in about a month and a half, if not longer. And I'm quite curious to know where they went and what they were doing and why now suddenly they've popped up in this part of the reserve. Christine, if I got your name correctly, the thunder does have an effect on them, especially the younger ones. You can see the older ones, they don't seem to bother. They actually just snuggled in and having a bit of a rest. But the younger ones do react to the thunder, but they settle down quite quickly, and once they realize what it is, they don't have too much of a problem with it. But I guess that initial sound that you hear gives you quite a fright, and for the lions it's the same, especially after they've been having quite a lazy, relaxed day. You can see this is one of the younger females. And we have been seeing, well, either her or her sister been moving in the central parts of the reserve, close to the area where their mother is denning at the moment with her 3 new cubs. Now, this pride has been split up so much, and the animals have been spread out all over that, and because we haven't seen them so long, we really do not know what the dynamics is at the moment. From what I can see here, it looks like most of the sub-adult lions, and then also the 2 old females. But I've only noticed the 2 old females out of the initial 6 core members of the pride. Stephen, we only have 2 white lions on the reserve at the moment, and they are both right there amongst, we can actually see both of them. The female is the one off to the left, and then to the right is the young male, which you might be able to see. I don't know if you can see clearly, but you'll notice a slight crest on the head. He's got his head flat down. Well, I think while we see what the rain makes these lions do, in the meantime we're going to send you over to Tristan and Djuma. Well, we can hear the rumbling of thunder from where we are at the moment, so I'm not surprised Yapi's lions have gone for shelter. We're hoping that it will bypass us and won't be anywhere near where we are. As you can see, we are at Rubbing Post Dam. This is a little dam on Buffelshoek that's super cool to be at. I thoroughly enjoy this dam. There's lots of often interesting birds around here. Anyway, my name is Tristan. On camera I've got David. And we're on Buffelshoek at the moment. We went to go and try and see if we could find Cara sitting in the tree, but she unfortunately wasn't there. The carcass is in the tree, but she might just be lying in the long grass, and it's so wet that I didn't want to drive around too much. I'll go back later and we'll try and figure out if we can find her. In the meantime, I already have a leopard that Trish very kindly made for me. Trish did a little Tlalamba bookmark for me that she gave to me and put in my pocket when we were on our way out of the drive, which is very good. So thank you, Trish. So no matter what, we will have put a leopard on screen this afternoon. Very good. Thank you, David. That's Trishala, so we'll just put that there, and then we'll have a leopard whenever we need it. We can just pull one out of our pocket for the first time in life.
If only it was that easy to just kind of pull leopards out your pockets and just put them there when we need them. And also, the reason why I've just kind of stopped here for a little bit is that this dam is where we had those lesser moorhens. I know Steve looked for them a little bit. He saw them that one time or twice, I think, and then he hasn't seen them since. But sometimes with those kind of birds, because of how they skulk about and they move about, you need to just sit and look and wait. And sometimes they then just start to make an appearance in this green sort of vegetation that's on the edges of the dam itself. But so far, no sign. It's also this kind of vegetation where you can get really nice sightings of little crakes and random little birds that can be hidden away in there. This time of the year, things like corn crakes should be around and are easily overlooked. So it's always good in places like this just to stop a little bit and really have a scan around before kind of moving on too quickly. Those kinds of birds are designed to hide, and the longer you sit and wait, the more they kind of get used to your presence. But alas, it seems like there's not very much here now, so we'll carry on. I'm just trying to do a little bumble for now, just to pass a bit of time. I'm pretty sure Cara will go back up the tree. She has hardly eaten that steenbok, which makes me wonder if maybe she doesn't have another kill somewhere, on top of the fact that she had an impala, or I think she had an impala yesterday. It wouldn't surprise me if she's got another one somewhere. Normally a leopard, when they have a carcass the size of a steenbok, gets eaten pretty quickly, but she really hasn't touched much of that at all, and it would explain why she was so far from the carcass this morning, kind of coming back. Maybe she's managed to grab herself something else during the night. I don't know. So we'll go back there just now and have a little look. I know some of you are interested, particularly James Richard, about an update on the wild dogs. And they are on Buffelshoek, but right on the Manyeleti boundary, in an area, unfortunately, where we just can't get to. Our signal doesn't allow for it. It's in this very weird little dip on the boundary. But they are there, and there were 12 dogs, apparently, this morning. So hopefully they'll come back south again during the course of the evening. But, generally when dogs have a direction, it's normally kind of one that they stick to. And if you look at the collar info from that particular pack of dogs, the direction was kind of westwards all the way, and then they sort of slowly came south, almost running parallel to the Manyeleti fence line, and then down, and then when they got to kind of the Sabi Sands boundary, they turned eastwards into this area where we had them yesterday. We had them right here yesterday afternoon, and then they're now going back northwards, or northeast, towards where they kind of came from. So it's a kind of circular round trip that they've done. The good news is that they haven't been chased by lions or anything like that, so maybe they'll start to feel that comfortable to come down here. Hopefully they found a fair amount of prey, and they will start to learn that this is an area that they can spend a little bit more time in, and that they don't need to stress too much about finding food or too many animals. And I reckon that their movement here is exactly coincided with the movement of the Talamati pride, because they almost did a swap. The Talamatis, on the day that the dogs came in, they went out. So you probably find that they're listening to those roars, and that's also dictating a little bit of where their movement is. Wild dogs often do that. There's a bird of prey in the tree far away. I want to see what it is. Again, this time of the year where you get random birds of prey hanging around. There's a crazy bird in Cape Town at the moment. That's new to South Africa. Let's have a look. It's sitting quite upright in the branch, which is typical of things like Wahlberg's eagles. And it looks like it's got a little crest, so I would say a Wahlberg's eagle from far. It'd be nice to get a little bit closer to it, just to make sure, but kind of way it's sitting, although it looks a little bit big for a Wahlberg's. Maybe a 20. Let's go a little bit closer and have a look quickly. See if we can't figure out exactly what it is. It's not easy because it's a bit against the light, so it's a bit of a dark blob for me with my binos. This area is so wet. I can't believe how much water there is. Not too long ago, about 4 or 5 months ago, I actually had 3 cheetah here, and it was completely open, and all of this was bone dry. All these little pans, they had no water in them whatsoever, whereas now there's just water everywhere and full to the brim, and that it's even flowing onto the road. It's crazy how things change in such a short space of time out here. That should be a better view of it. Still not great with it from a light point of view. Yes, Wahlberg's eagle. My initial thought was correct. You can see quite a long tail, and that little crest when it turns its head pops up a little bit. The tawny's tail doesn't quite sit as long as that, and they don't have that same little crest. That's what the Wahlbergs do. Funny enough, I actually haven't seen many Wahlbergs eagles of late. David, have you seen many lately?
Not many, no.
No, they seem to have started to kind of move off again quite early in the season, but definitely not the same number of Wahlbergs eagles as there was in December. Nice to see, though. Always like doing a little bit of birding. Dana, yeah, I take it you're referring to birds of prey, or large birds, let's put it that way, and why they're in dead trees. And it's quite simple. These guys have massive wingspans. When you're a bird of prey, and you're something like a vulture or a martial eagle, and your wingspan is 8 feet, anything that's foliated means that your wings are getting caught and are being grabbed, and a lot of the trees out here in Africa have thorns, and it's just going to damage the wings. So if you're on an open, dead tree, it allows them to stretch and spread their wings and to take off and land far easier than in foliated trees. It's not to say that you'll never find a bird of prey in a foliated tree. You do. I've seen vultures and most of the eagles in some sort of form of tree at some stages in their lives. The eagles, funny enough, will often use foliated trees if they've got kills, because it just helps them sort of hide a little bit more. But when it's just perching and looking, they often like to use these just because of ease of landing and ease of takeoff. It's not nearly as much in the way of obstructions for those large wings. And you can see that crest perfectly now when it turns its head. Oh, it just sticks up off the back. It almost looks like it's just gotten out of bed, and the back of the hair hasn't quite been flattened down yet before school. It's almost that kind of look that they have. Makes me laugh. It's one of their diagnostic features, actually, these guys. All right, well, we'll carry on. We'll see what else we can find. In the meantime, over to Trish, who's made her way to a waterhole.
We are here at Buffelshoek Dam, where there isn't too much happening, but there is a hippo and the shallower portions of it. I'm very glad that Tristan likes his gift. I'm not sure he knows the backstory of his gift. I'm not sure. Do you remember when I found Tlalamba the other day? I told you I was painting a picture of her. Well, I painted the picture of her, and then I didn't like the way the body came out. So then I cut out the head and made a bookmark for Tristan. But there's still a lot of, time and effort went to it. It just wasn't meant exactly for Tristan. It just ended up being Tristan. Well, there's a lot of thunder, and considering that it's raining at Ngala, or starting to rain, I'm sure it's going to come down this way too. I can already feel it. There's a few dark clouds, but nothing too ominous just yet. This hippo's just tucked under now and up again. You'll find them not as much as you would think in when the dam is nice and full. And it's because hippos need to be able to stand at the bottom or to be able to push off if it's too deep, but they're not going to do that for long. So the last couple times I came to Buffelshoek Dam, I didn't see a hippo in it. And I thought that it must be too deep. But obviously there's some areas on the side where it's still shallow. Shallow enough for the hippo to stand, at least for some portion. Because ordinarily you think, wow, this dam looks amazing. It's nice and full. Why aren't there a whole lot of hippos around? And that's because of the depth. Depth that wouldn't be a problem for any elephants that come around. DST, you'd like to know if hippos have a strong sense of hearing. They do hear very well, but not in the sense that you may think. So it's not as if they have a very acute sense of hearing and that they can hear all types of sounds from very far and things like that. It's a different type of hearing. They can hear sounds that are made amphibiously, so sounds that are underwater. They can hear those sounds very clearly and very well, and they can hear the sounds above water very well too. So though they might not be able to hear sounds way in the distance, the way in which their hearing works allows them to hear very clearly in the water and on land. So in that sense, they have a very, very good hearing. It's all in the name, hippopotamus amphibius. Oh, I was looking forward to elephants. It's amazing how we continue being creatures that want to find patterns. If we see a nice sighting in a certain place, then we want to come back there hoping for the same thing, but in fact it's completely random. Anyway, it was lovely to visit Buffelshoek Dam anyway. So I'm going to send you over to Ngala with their lions while we move off.
So the rain stopped here, and now I can see that these lions have moved back out from under the cover of that bush willow they were laying under, as well as the tall grass. Let's look for a slightly more open spot. You can see that one lioness has got her head up, and she's steering in the direction of the rest. Also, the wind's coming from that direction, so in this particular area there's been quite a few buffalo herds moving around, coming in and out of Ngala. And thinking about it now, I think that maybe these lions might have been following these buffaloes for a while, or maybe they were trying to hunt buffaloes within this herd, maybe for the last day or two. Now, I haven't seen any tracks on the way here. I haven't noticed any signs of the buffalo herd. But with a breeze like this, a steady breeze coming in, and there's quite a dense forested section near us, there could be a lot of large prey animals in this area that, even though we can't see them, the lions might be aware of them. Not seeing these animals for quite some time, where we are used to seeing them regularly. It's interesting to notice the changes. Like that lioness over there, she certainly looks like she's had a few tough weeks behind her. She looks a little bit scrawny, and I don't think they've been eating as well as they would have liked to. But all things considered, they're not looking bad. It looks like all of them are still here. So they haven't lost any of the members, and the areas where they were moving is generally in the terrain of other male lions' territory. Chris, do male and female lions have the same lifespan? In the wild, it's tricky to say, because they don't have a very long lifespan, both of them. But the females tend to live slightly longer, on average about 15 within wild, and the males around 10. But then again, I've also noticed with male lions in this particular area, judging from the way they look and the color of their mane, their teeth, the age they usually get kicked out of the area or even get killed by other males, they already quite seasoned. And I'd say out of the last few territorial males we've seen in this area, they have seemed, at least to me, that they were slightly older than 10, maybe 12 or 13. And I do tend to think that it varies from area to area. There's a lot of competition from other male lions in this area, so the average lifespan of a male lion in the Kruger Park is more or less 10 years. However, I think in this area, they often live longer than people think. Where the females, I know that these two older females, we suspect them to be at least 15. We're not entirely sure exactly how old they are, but I can see one of those young males is readying himself. It looks like he is intently staring at something and he might pounce. And my suspicion is, looking at the disinterested look on the other lion's faces, it's more than likely one of the other young ones. And he's just carefully trying to follow through this very, very long grass. Samuel, these white lions are not a subspecies. They are exactly the same species because they come from the same mothers. In fact, this white one here, the young female, she's got a tawny sister. And because of that, they are exactly the same species, territorial. And it's just a recessive gene that is found within this pride, and there's about a 1 in 4 chance for a white lion to be born if both the parents carry the recessive gene. And the part of the skin where the fur is located on, that part just doesn't produce melanin. And that's why they appear white. Now the wind's picked up quite a bit here actually. It looks like the big thundercloud has moved over us and now this wind is following it. And this is actually creating the perfect conditions here for a hunt. There's enough cover, it's very, very dense. If anything had to walk through this area, these lions will stand a very, very good chance to have a successful attempt. So, we're going to sit here and hope for the best. In the meantime, we'll send you over to Pridelands with some elephants.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Pridelands Eco Training, where we've got a very unusual herd of elephants. 2 youngsters so far. That very brave little one you have there charged us a moment ago. Scared the life out of both myself and Johan. He's definitely the matriarch of this troop. A very brave little fellow. I'm just going to go back and maybe we get another view. There's actually a road that runs up in that direction. Oh, Yapti, I wish that you'd send some of that rain here. It is so humid. So humid. It's there, it's building, we can see it. We're prepared to cover up. It's just teasing us right now, teasing. Okay, I'm guessing that Mum's probably on this side of the road. But, you know, I've always told you, everybody, when you find the youngsters away from the adults, herd's very relaxed. If you don't find the youngsters, so noisy. So noisy. That wasn't even the other one, the little one did one before. It was even louder than that. Charged our vehicle, ears spread out. It was quite scary, wasn't it, John? Mm. It's supposed to be a bit scary. That's why they do it. But when you don't react, then they go on to feed like this and pretend that they didn't actually behave like that. But as discussed many times in the past, if you find a herd of elephants and the babies are out in the open, then a very good chance that what you are seeing is a very relaxed herd. They weren't relaxed, the babies wouldn't be many meters from the adults. You can't even see the adults, which is an indication of how relaxed they are. Oh, here comes that breeze. Whew, wonderful breeze. A little bit of a spray. If you ever do find yourself coming on game drive, safari this time of year, bring along a very cheap little water bottle. Costs about 35 Rand. What's that, $1? $2? It's the most worthwhile investment you will ever make. And if you put nice drinking water in there, you can even spray it in your mouth when the need arises. That's just a little tip from me. Use it, lose it, whatever. Very straightforward, very versatile. Saved my life many a time. Okay, we're going to keep going up here. Maybe we get a sign of the family and see exactly what the adults are up to.
Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer, this could become a reality. Tumbeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of WildEarth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the WildEarth camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer before the end of February 2021 and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
Being a safari driver requires some serious multitasking ability. You've got to be able to talk, look at the road, steer, and occasionally get the vehicle into the right gear.
Do not crash into any trees. Oh, that's a dozy.
Just jump into the car and hope for the best, and you'll see where it takes you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm surprised they're moving as fast as that didn't go well. Who is the best driver? Well, me, of course, although some of the cam-ops might disagree.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for WildEarth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on WildEarth.
We have a baby pangolin. A baby pangolin. This is off the charts. This animal is about from your fingertips to your elbow. That's the total length of this animal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Good afternoon and welcome to Twalu. You're here with us on our Southern Pride. At this point in time, they're just lying in the shade. It's quite toasty today. We're sitting at well over 34 degrees this afternoon. I'm Deirdre, and on camera with me this afternoon is Morgan. So we just at a watering hole, and they're all just lying up in the shade. So they're actually moving around more than I gave them credit for. I thought that just with the sheer heat, we'd find them deep in the thicket. But this lioness has literally just plopped herself down in the shady spot. And then the other smaller cubs are just busy getting some milk and nourishment from their mother. They've been begging for that there. That's over there. So she's busy suckling 3 of her cubs. They're about 3.5 months old. So at the stage where she is giving them less milk and she's weaning them a little bit. So once she's gets tired of them, she'll stand up and either lie down on her teats so that they can't get access to them, or walk away from them. So they haven't moved far at all. They've moved about 20 meters. This is where we found them this morning. But they did look as if they'd had a meal this morning, so didn't anticipate that they'd move too far. Here comes trouble. One of the older cubs. He might think that he gets a chance to go and suckle, pushing the younger cubs out. Now you might find he gets a reprimand from the lioness. He's pretty much too old to suckle for milk, but he'll still try. If he can sneak in there and she doesn't notice, he's going to get a little bit of something. But you probably see this is when she moves. Lots of grumbling and moaning. Otherwise, he was just looking for a pillow. Oak Tree's asking how many lions are there in the Southern Pride. Well, there's at least 4 lionesses, and we think that each one of them has 3 cubs, but we're still waiting for them all to get back together to confirm who's got what. But at this stage, 9 known cubs, with the possibility that it could be between 9 and 12, and 4 adult lionesses. And the males here, they move between the 2 prides. Oh, no, there's definitely some grumbling, so you might not be able to hear the audio, but you can see the behavior. Those flat ears, that sort of aggression, and there we go. She said enough now. So the older cub ruined it for all the others. They're all moving into the shade now. Always time for play. So she is quite vocal. She's basically just warning them, don't come near. Jess loves lions, says her comment is they are so cute. They are, at this age, they are very, very cute. Very naughty, very mischievous, and especially when you've got multiple different ages of cubs, because yeah, the older cubs always use the younger cubs like a plaything, and they grow so quickly. I mean, you'll probably get an opportunity to see at some point the size difference in the paws between whether you're 6 months or 3 months, and every now and again the one just gets sort of pushed on his head. But the grooming that's happening there is important to maintain bonds, social bonds between them. It's known as allo grooming, so they all take turns. They'll try and get rid of any parasites, any ticks. If they have eaten a meal recently, if there's any blood or any leftovers of the food on their face. So there we go. It's your turn, it's my turn. See, that's where the mischievous comes in. You can see he's trying to bite the other one on the inside of the leg. That face is adorable. Sinak is asking the question, do lions in the Kalahari prey on meerkats? Not necessarily. Meerkats are far too quick for lions. They're well alert. If a lion chased a meerkat, the meerkat would aim for their burrow and probably be way too fast. I've seen lions chase mongoose before, and it's almost just too fast for them. It's actually all more of a game. It's not that they want to eat them. It's just a game to see if they can catch them, but I haven't seen them attempt to chase meerkats. But normally the meerkats are well aware, by being alert all the time, that there's a possible approach of a predator, and they'll head down into the burrow for safety very, very quickly if they feel threatened. So sometimes you'll find a lion sort of assesses the size and the possibility, so unless it's a plaything, they're not really aiming for meerkats as a food source. You've got to imagine, what's that one thinking? Adam is asking how lions regulate their temperature. So by panting, one of the ways to try and lose heat, they don't have any natural sweat glands. So panting, opening their mouth and sort of breathing heavily, try and go into the shade will help them regulate their temperature by dropping their temperature, and sometimes also when they're extremely hot, they'll actually lie upside down and almost try and cool their belly if there is a slight breeze. But this today, although it's 34 degrees, this is actually mild for a Kalahari lion. I mean, they experience temperatures 44, 45 degrees some days in the height of summer. So Morgan and I were actually just discussing that a little bit earlier, and that we haven't had as sweltering a hot summer as before. So we're going to send you from one pride of lions to another.
And now these lions have gone back to what seems to be a nice, relaxing snooze. You can still hear the thunder, but the rain's moved off almost completely, and you can almost feel the heat coming straight back. Now, in the long grass where they're laying, where they're almost completely disappearing, like the young lion nest there at the back of the tree's base. Now that one, and the other younger ones. I can see some marks on their skin. I can see some bite marks on the scruff of the neck. It looks like they've been struggling with ticks quite a lot. And what I do find very interesting is normally the white lions in particular, they show marks quite clearly. These ones at the moment look relatively good. The last time I heard of anybody seeing the young white male, it sounded like he had some serious cuts on his back and between the shoulder blades, but for now he looks good at first glance, where the tawny lions are actually showing the tick bites. And you can see the ears twitching the whole time, the tails are flicking. And one of the things that come with summertime, all the water around, all the tall grasses, is the fact that there's a lot more parasites. And flies, and with the flies in particular, some of these flies bite. Actually, while we were it does look like it hasn't even rained at the moment. Even with the flies are going mad. They've actually, even myself sitting here, I've been bitten a couple of times now, a small little fly, and I'm sure it's biting the lions as well, especially the softer areas. You see that young lioness straight ahead from us now. She has got her legs up and her belly up in the air. And that's also, it's still quite humid, so it's in part to try and help her cool down. But the skin there is quite thin, and therefore the flies, the biting flies, go and sit there and they bite there. But it doesn't look like these lions are doing too much, and I think they might lay down for a while longer, so we're going to send you over to Tristan.
Right, so talking about not doing much, it doesn't seem like Kara's done much this afternoon. She's nowhere to be found. I have checked all the bushes around this tree, checked kind of quite carefully. You can see she's moved the kill since yesterday. It's come down, but she has eaten so little off this kill. Something doesn't feel right about what's going on here. Personally, I think that she might have another kill somewhere, and it would explain why we found her so far from this tree this morning. She was a good sort of 500 meters away, and this morning I found it odd because water is not a commodity that needs to be kind of, well, it's not hard to find at the moment, so she didn't need to walk as far as she did. There's a little flooded pan less than 100 meters from this tree, so for her to be that far away, I don't know, maybe she's just managed to find something else and she's kind of walking between them. In a day, I mean, we know it's been 24 hours at least since the steenbok was in the tree. And in that time, she's managed to eat the rump of the steenbok. She hasn't even eaten both legs yet, and hasn't eaten much beyond that, which surprises me. You know, normally on a carcass of this size, you'd find that it would have been eaten long ago. You know, normal kind of hungry leopards will go through it quite fast. And I thought maybe with the thunder approaching and a little bit of noise, maybe she'd have come back just to try and kind of have a feed before it gets too wet. But it doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like she's quite happy just to kind of be wherever she is. Be interesting to see. So we're just sitting doing a stakeout at this stage. I know it's not enthralling to see a dead animal draped on a branch. But unfortunately, sometimes you've got to be patient out in the bush. Shadulu's not where we left her this morning. She's also moved. So I don't know where she went. I'm sure she'll pop out this evening on quarantine somewhere as it starts to get dark. But no sign of, like I say, of her. So we'll just be patient. There's not much else going on that we can kind of get to. So we might as well just show a bit of patience. And I think it would be fitting to see Kara this afternoon, given that she is one of the offspring of Hukumuri, and we're obviously going to be celebrating Hukumuri's life this evening on our fireside chat. So I thought it would be a nice thing just to kind of sit with one of his offspring this afternoon. It felt like the right way to go about things. I hope that she does make an appearance. It would be kind of nice to see her and sit with her, as it's still very humid and hot, which might be contributing to the reason why we're not seeing her up in the tree. Maybe as that sun starts to dip behind the cloud a little bit and it starts to not feel as hot, she'll kind of emerge from wherever she is. She could be in any one of these little thickets. Grass is so long that if she's lying flat, spotting her is quite tough. All right, well, we're going to sit here. It's a beautiful evening. There's thunder all around us. We've got all the chance in the world that she arrives at any point. So we'll be patient. In the meantime, let's send you across to Steve in Pridelands.
Good luck, Tristan. No doubt she'll be back. It is very hot and humid this afternoon, and what's very interesting is we are here again on Pridelands. Well, I suppose we haven't left, have we, hun? But we are at Leopard Dam again, and I can't remember if we were discussing it live or if it was just Johan and I discussing it about crocodiles or hippos moving into watering holes. And well, there is a hippo in this watering hole, believe it or not, playing a game of hide and seek. There he is. Hello, Mr. Hippo. How splendid. New surroundings.
1, 2, 1.
Sorry about the game drive radio with an accent. Just turn that off. So interesting how these animals will find their watering holes. They will find territories. You notice down in Djuma, Chitwa itself, it's gotten so full of water that the hippos have had to move. As we all know, hippos don't swim. It's funny that you live in water though and you can't swim. They probably can swim, I suppose. They're quite buoyant, but they don't really swim. They run along the floor. So it's probably standing there just taking it really easy. Really easy. Kind of envious of him. Afternoon like this. We nearly jumped into the water tank this afternoon. Hello Joel, 9 years old. Well, hippos will graze. Normally it's at night, but there's nothing stopping them going out in the daytime. You might actually see them come out earlier, and rainy conditions might cause them to come out. I mean, we see hippos spending most of their day in the lakes and dams and rivers down here in South Africa. But when I was up in Luwandi, in Malawi, where the river was flowing constantly, the water was actually quite cold. And being in moving water can actually cool your body much faster than the air can. And so up in Luwandi, the hippos were always out the water. We hardly ever saw them in the water, except for when they were in the water. So that's not very descriptive. But they were out the water a lot. Versus here, we see them in the water all the time. But sometimes, in the depth of winter, we find them sitting out on the banks. But they can graze at any time, but they generally choose to do so at night. But they can also feed on some aquatic vegetation. But I've seen hippos eating in the daytime. In Luwandi, we'd see them actually grazing in the middle of the day, which was quite interesting. So really, I don't know what the factors are that determine it. I suppose it's just hunger. And when you're a big hippo, I suppose you do get quite hungry. He's not deciding he wants to hide behind the little Tambuti island there. Really is a beautiful... Oh, here we go. The students, eco-training students, are quite excited that this hippo is here today, so both groups are going to be coming up to see him. Well, it's nice to have new visitors. They're only 2 weeks or so, 2.5 weeks into their year course. So there's lots of excitement, enthusiasm, and things to learn. It's always nice to learn, isn't it, everybody? Yes, Sarah, most certainly. Essentially, the purpose of the watering hole is territory. And so if one found a watering hole that suited him, he would claim it. And if he found another hippo joining, they would fight. But this one is probably big enough for more than one. But I don't really know what the factors are with regards to size of watering holes. I think a lot of it's got to do with access to good grazing. But there's definitely sort of a bubble that a hippo uses as a territorial boundary within the watering hole itself to demarcate with defecation and display. So a fellow like this who's just arrived, because he wasn't here yesterday, he was found in here this morning, he might be still quite sort of volatile in a way. He might be a little bit aggressive to other animals. He might be aggressive to other hippos if they did arrive, just as a form of, hey, this is mine. You know, a bit of a claim. You've always got to be quite sort of put your foot down or be a little bit forward in the beginning. If you want to stake a claim, you need to physically claim it. Sometimes defecation, scent marking is enough. Yeah, I have absolutely no idea, Minamu, I'm afraid. They seem to do quite fine. Many of these watering holes, they don't really get too much contaminants. There might be blooms of algae and the like, but most animals don't do well in polluted water, so the waters and rivers that we find in these reserves are all semi-free, I would say, of most pollutants, although any river running through that has come from agricultural areas potentially has pollutants. But I've never heard of hippos succumbing to to pollutants and contaminants inside watering holes. Interesting, could be an interesting study. It would affect every animal within the periphery because hippos are not immune to the watering hole itself. The fish, the crocodiles, any animal that comes and drinks here would be susceptible to whatever contaminants there are, and you'd find die off. So I suppose what affects one would affect all. Beautiful afternoon here. Leopard Dam, it seems like the rain is staying to the south and east of us, but it feels like it should be coming, so we'll be waiting for a little bit more coolness to arrive.
As many of you know by now, one of our beloved leopard characters, Hukumuri, recently passed away. I would like to invite you to join me on Saturday the 20th of February as I take an intimate look into his life and pay tribute to the incredible cat that he was. I'm looking forward to seeing you around the fire at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time. Sometimes love wants to make you sing. And sometimes love wants to make you bow and fan your wings to your bow. For the southern yellow-billed hornbill, these are signs that love is in the air. These birds are destined for a season of monogamy at least. Breeding pairs are in it for the survival of their chicks. But before love commences, the male needs to woo his valentine with food in the form of nuptial gifts.
I'm Nikki here at Ambion Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the WildEarth website, head across to the live safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next WildEarth drive.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
There's a grounding earthiness to this place that we feel in our ancestors. It's a place where, believe it or not, we evolved as a human species, and anyone who's come to Africa will understand that. The connectivity that the continent has to the person and to people's souls is next level. I'm thoroughly looking forward to taking you on your next adventure when we explore all the small and big things.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Welcome back to Tualu. This little one's the only one that's been for a drink. So far you can actually see the muddy chin. It's got a little muddy chin after drinking the water, and everybody else is pretty much passed out flat. Still lots of time for snoozing. It's still a while before the sun goes down here and they might think about doing something, but certainly nothing at the moment. So, who wants to be like a lion? 20 hours out of a 24-hour day is probably spent sleeping. I anticipate that one's going to move at some point. It's been lying in the sun for a while. It must be starting to get quite hot. But he's watching something intently. There's quite a few birds on the ground. So they are curious at this age. Anything that they can potentially hunt and stalk. So don't forget, you can ask us questions to engage with us at #WildEarth and put at FC in front of the question. We might have a pouncing lion. He's thinking about it. I say he. This morning we saw that there's two of the bigger ones are males, but then we missed out on sexing the one, so we're still waiting to see. At this distance, at this age, you can only sex them really by looking underneath their tail, but once they start heading towards about a year old, then they start getting little spiky hair around their neck if they're a young male, and that's basically when the mane starts developing. So Morgan is asking the question, how do cubs know to stay at the den when mum goes to hunt? So sometimes they've got to do a little bit of subterfuge, and they've got to be a bit sneaky in that they wait until they all pass out, and then the two lionesses sneak off. But they wouldn't leave them lying out and exposed in the open like this. They generally take them up to sort of here at Twalu, they like to hide them in the rocks or hide them in a thicket and sort of give them the command to stay. It's not always easy. As soon as the cubs start becoming sort of 6 months and older, they want to stay with the pride all the time. But we have seen that the older cubs almost become the babysitters for the younger cubs. If a pride is large enough, sometimes they may leave a lioness with them. That's the babysitter, and then the others would go out hunting. But in this particular pride, they stash the cubs and then go off hunting. So we think that that's what happened this morning, is that we were tracking the one lionesses with the three older cubs. They were the ones walking down the road, and they came by calling and found this other lioness with her three younger cubs. So I think that only the younger cubs and their mother have eaten at this stage, but yeah, difficult to be 100% sure that that's in fact what happened. But we certainly weren't tracking all 8 of them this morning. So we're probably going to move on from here. They're not going to do much for a while. We might be able to come back and check on them later. We're going to send you across to Steve in Pridelands.
Well, lions are not doing anything. Our bird was preening, grooming himself, and looking fantastic for the afternoon. And now he's just flown away. It was a wonderful woodland kingfisher. And it was so lovely. I just had obviously Pridelands is open to other guides who come in and out, freelance guides, and an old student that I trained just popped over to say hello a moment ago, which was wonderful. A really, really small world we live in. Anyway, we're going to carry on. We stopped to show you a bird that, well, made us also quite jealous, because he had a wonderful bath. Wonderful bath, and was looking really nice and fresh. And we thought he might do some hunting, but not the case. Anyway, let's carry on, shall we? We'll carry on in this direction. This is heading over towards the west. And while we try and find the gear and get back on the little 2-track here, I'm going to send you back over to Djuma and my good friend Chishala.
I found this terrapin in the middle of the road. It almost looked like it was very weary of us. We're quite far away from it. And it's obviously moving from one water source to another. Look at it go. Chippy, 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 chip, 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 chip. Now, they're not quite tortoises. I did say to you they are Chelonians, so they're in the same group of them, so members of that family. They include a tortoise and a turtle. But there's something in between. Webbed feet, still have claws. They're omnivorous. And they live in fresh water. So we get the marsh terrapin and the serrated hinged terrapin, and that one would just be moving from one water source to another, and this is the perfect time for it because there isn't great distance between water sources, so it can move quite freely, probably cover quite a bit of distance as well as it moves, because it can keep going on and on and on and on, not worry about drying out. Thank you, terrapin, being in the middle of the road like that for us, in the middle of a main road too. To see if we can see it again. No, it's a goner. Everyone says they move quicker than it moves quicker than you thought. I don't know what the top speed of a terrapin is. But I thought so too. But you know, I also thought tortoises, I mean, like everybody, I also thought tortoises moved quite slowly because of what you hear in stories and fairy tales and things like that. And then when I was little, an uncle of mine had a tortoise. And those things used to move so quick, especially when they were going to be fed. Little bits of cabbage, everything that, you know, when you're done cleaning vegetables, you give them the vegetables and they just almost run. Like, the pace was incredible considering what I thought, or the pace that I thought they moved at. But remember, when your survival depends on it, you tend to move faster than you even thought you could. So I have done a few things. Dropped off some wood at camp for fireside chat, and I went to follow up on Shudulu from this morning, but she appears to have moved. But I say that she could have moved just a little bit, but if she doesn't actually make any movement while I'm in the area, I won't be able to see. So we can check a little bit later again, but for now I was not able to see her, if she is there. If we have a look off to our west, we'll see the clouds that have suddenly come in. Ooh! Wayne, that's an excellent question. You'd like to know, how does the terrapin know where the water is? Many animals that seek out water can smell water, besides the obvious of being able to feel where water sources are. The other thing is that, oh, listen to this thunder. There's some lightning down that side. That's why I wanted to show it to you. The other thing is, animals that need water are used to the contours of the land that would indicate that water could be there. So if it's moving downhill, it will eventually hit water. If it's moving uphill, less likely. So there's little cues like that. There we go. Just a little more to the left. Yeah. So it's not exactly a conscious thought, but it is almost a feeling, because you can feel you're going downhill. And usually when you go downhill, you find water. So that knowledge, and that becomes a pattern that you use on and on and on. And it constantly gets reinforced by it ending up being true. I love this weather in South Africa. When it's hot and humid and the sky bursts open in thunderstorms. It's just unbelievable when it happens. Okay, it's about 3 kilometers away from us at the moment. So we'll wait it out a little longer before we'll think it's unsafe. Beautiful view though. Well, Tristan is at that leopard kill. I'm hoping that he has great luck for Cara to show up.
Well, one thing is for certain is that it is getting closer. Trisha's stolen our thunder, so to speak, because we were going to do a silent moment of thunder and lightning. But she pipped us to the post. Now, it is definitely coming closer and closer. Over the ridge, there's some lights far in the distance, which are a long way from where we are. They're outside of the reserve, and I've just been watching those lights the whole afternoon while we've been waiting for Cara to show up. She still hasn't shown up, if you're all interested. But there's these 2 little lights, and they were bright and sparkly and easily seen. But slowly but surely they're being enveloped by rain and becoming dimmer and dimmer and dimmer on that horizon. It's becoming harder and harder to kind of pick them up. You might just see them still in the distance there. There they are. There we go, David. Well done. So those were, like I say, bright and very visible, and they're starting to become hazy as the rain is falling. It's been interesting to kind of watch the storm moving. It's kind of moving away, and then it's turned and now starting to come back again towards us. So I'm hoping we don't get too wet this evening. I really could do without any more rain. It would be nice to have a dry kind of few days again, but I suppose we are still in February, which means we still got a long 2.5 months until the end of the rainy season here. Doubt we're going to get dry conditions for 2 months. I think it's going to still be wetter even still. I'll say this though, it is very pleasant just sitting here watching the kind of storm and the sunset and listening to the thunder while we wait for this leopard to show up. I mean, I haven't even heard a sound of a bird alarm call, so I don't even know if she's here. Maybe she isn't. But we'll give it another little bit and just be patient. If nothing, then we'll start bumbling. Meantime, off to Steve with the giraffe.
Look at what we found. Another beautiful big giraffe, everybody. Beautifully moving through this open area. Stretching his neck. He had a little sniff there for something. Oh, I wonder if he's looking for some earth or for some bones. Often find these big animals feeding on bones or soil, rock, in search of different minerals and elements. Unfortunately, he's gone behind this bush. He just reversed back slightly. We'll get him. Feeding on Tamboti. It's always interesting to see them feeding on Tamboti. I think that's a Tamboti. Hannah, you want to know how they keep cool? I don't think many animals keep cool through drinking water. I think we're the only ones who actually go and actively drink something cool to try and cool us, but I don't think it really works. But all those patches on the giraffe, all of them have got a network of capillaries, of blood network underneath, and the blood is actually pushed to the surface of those little, where the pads are. And when the wind blows, wind is a massive cooling factor. As you all know, what happens when you want to cool down in the car? You put on the fan or the aircon, or you open the window. So wind is a really cooling agent, and the wind running over the giraffe's body has the potential to remove an enormous amount of heat. So wind is the major cooling factor, but the ability to mobilize that heat towards the surface enables the cooling to happen. And a giraffe will often, in the heat of the day, stand with their back to the sun, giving the least amount of surface area to the sun, with that mane of fur as well on the neck, protecting them. Obviously, they also stand in the shade if need be, so standing in the shade is a good one. It's a very important trait for ruminants, and why there are so many ruminants, antelope-like ruminants, in these savannas, because of the trees. Without the shade, they'd have to become very well adapted, like many of the desert-dwelling antelope that we find, like the gemsbok, which have got a very, very different way of cooling down. He's now gone and hidden, of course. A lot of specialization to cool down. Nice air conditioning systems. Try get him again. Such a wonderful little area. Love to go for a walk through there. It's an area called Red Sands, I think. Red Earth. Coming to you live on WildEarth from Pridelands. See if we can get him. Johan, we almost got him there. Oh, it's a little bit tricky. Maybe we might actually even have an access through there shortly. But we're going to try to poke my nose in the little gap here. There's a gap. And that'll have to do. He's on a mission, everybody. He's on the move. Becky, well, most certainly through eyesight. Eyesight is very keen on giraffe. As with most of these animals, actually, eyesight. Very, very keen. So they'll stare at a lion. I wouldn't know how well they hear the lion approach, but they're very alert. Giraffe are very, very alert animals, and many animals will hang out with them due to obviously their height advantage. The thing that we're struggling with at the moment is finding animals is the length of grass. But when you're a giraffe, you just very different perspective, very different angle. So a big male giraffe like that's really got no issue from anything, except a big pride of lion. Oh, is this wider? Yes, are we going to get it directly in front of me? Gewone paradise vink in Afrikaans. Down a little bit. Oh, there he is. Paradise, long-tailed paradise, wider. That is a beautiful male. Oh, he's on the floor. Look at that. Seed eater. Isn't that a beautiful specimen? Now that tail, everybody, is purely for display. 100% for display. He advertises to the females how strong and fit he is, because clearly that you wouldn't be able to fly like that very easily. So to still be alive and to still be available and to not have been eaten means that you are very strong. It's something in science we've called the handicap hypothesis. So the animal with the longest and sort of more elaborate tail is chosen by the females due to his, see how difficult it is for him to fly there. He's definitely not the most agile of birds. Let's move up, maybe we get another view of him. I think there's actually a female on top of that tree there. Oh, he's on top of the knobthorn at the back there. Johan, maybe I'll move up. It's just at the top. Can you see him there? You often see quite a few ladies in attendance with these fellows. There we go. On the top. Sorry about the noise and that. Oh, here he flies. Oh, he's directly in front of us now. He's now making a call. You'll probably hear the train. There's the train that runs north to south. I often find a couple of these males competing with each other, and the females will selectively choose one of them, and they'll mate with the most impressive. So very, very cheeky. Very cheeky widers. They brood parasites, and all the widers focused on the fire finches as brood parasites. Okay, let's carry on. He's gone. We're going to try and find a nice elevated spot for a silent sunset. Hopefully we'll be able to find a beautiful spot.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Riverbeds are a great way to find water and look for places where elephant have excavated hollows. You can then dig into the sand, and after a couple of feet you should find damp sand, which then can be squeezed out or siphoned off for water. And with water being one of our scarcest resources, it is a good idea to conserve water where and how you can.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and beyond Djuma Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Africa is very special, and when you come down here, even when you're watching through our camera, the landscapes change from desert to bushveld to up in the Masai Mara where there's grassland. That means that the biodiversity changes as we move along Africa. And what I love most about connecting with you guys is the fact that I get to share these wonderful experiences with thousands of people.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Unfortunately, still no sign. We just kind of did a little loop around the tree just to see if maybe she was lying in a thicket here all along, but we haven't seen anything at all. It's just the carcass, and if you are a bit squeamish, the view that we have from this side is a lot more kind of, I don't know what the word is for it, maybe grotesque in terms of this sort of little head that's hanging over the branch with its mouth open. The tongue's not dangling out like sometimes does happen with these animals. Sometimes you see it and it looks terrible. But you can see a little male steenbok. It's quite easy to tell when you see the horns like that. And I mean, I'm surprised. I really thought she would have come back by now. You know, we showed a lot of patience sitting here for a long period in the hope that she would appear. And I suppose it is still warm, and there are places that she could be sitting that would be very difficult for us to see her. I suppose that is possible. I just get this feeling she isn't here, that she's somewhere else, and that she'll come back here and kind of bounce between wherever she is and this particular carcass. I don't know. Weird, though. You don't often see this kind of thing with leopards and small kills. They normally finish them up pretty quickly and go. They don't normally kind of just leave them draped on a branch like this. And it's also very visible. It's not like she's hidden it nicely like yesterday and then gone off. She's left it in full view, and any leopard or lion that walks anywhere near here will spot that pretty quickly. All right, well, we're going to do just a loop around. I'm going to go back to roughly where I found her this morning to see if maybe she's not there. In the meantime, let's send you across to Trish and see how she's getting on.
Oh, it'd be cool to find out exactly why she's done that. Over here, I promise, we do have some dwarf mongoose. We just have to be patient. They keep popping into the road and out and into the road and out, and we haven't seen them in a while. That's because the grass is so thick that only when they come onto the road can we actually see them. They're playing games with him, Paul. They're testing his camera skills. And there were two tiny little ones. So we're just gonna have to keep our eyes on the road. There we go. Hello, little guy. Yes, I know you see me. Oh, they're too cute. Look at that. I call this pose Meerkat, my relative. Of course they are relatives. They're both in the family Herpestidae, meerkats and mongoose. Both obviously in the order Carnivora as well. To be in the same family, they have to be in the same order. Look at those hands. That is cute. Well done, Impo. Your patience paid off. It's like a little bear. Like a miniature bear. I can hear some of them calling behind me. So I wonder if this one is trying to figure out why it can't see past us or towards where the sound is, or what it is, because this is the longest I've ever seen a meerkat stand up like this. A mongoose. I keep thinking about meerkats because of the way that it's standing. This is the longest I've seen a dwarf mongoose stand up straight like this. There's that call again. Look at how the little hands jiggle every time it turns its head. Oh, finally. Well done, Dwarfy. That was a great, great stand. And off it goes. Just checking us out, you know? That was so cool. Anyway, now I'll send you over to that place where you find the meerkats.
So, this is the place where we find the meerkats, thanks Trish, but that is not a meerkat. That's the baby wildebeest. When the wildebeest are still in the shade at this time and not worrying about finding food, then you know it is quite toasty in the afternoon. So there seems to be, there's just two little calves in the group amongst the females, and there'll be one dominant bull. Oh, I don't know if you saw that. It was the springbok that did a mad dash through the background, the back of the picture there. If anybody saw that, that was a springbok. He's moved on. But aren't those just too cute? So already getting horns, so already 2 to 3 months old. Their horns will start emerging at that age. we always talk about having a look at their ears when their ears are longer than their horns. That's a nice example, that one that you can see there. So that tells you female, and then when the horns are much wider than the ears, that tends to be a bull. But then also there's a little bit of a gap, like a parting down the middle for the females, whereas the bull, it tends to be a bit more merged in the middle. They are snorting at us. Probably actually laughing at us because we're in the sun and they're in the shade. Kira is asking the question, are these black or blue wildebeest? Now, blue because if they're in the sun they get a slight like blue sheen, so these are indeed blue wildebeest. And their horns go out sort of sideways. If it was a black wildebeest, their horns would come out forward over their head and then up, generally tending to have this ridiculous looking tuft of hair that sticks out the front of the nose, and also tending to have a white tail. The black wildebeest is also endemic to southern Africa, or to South Africa, and we tend to only find them in grassland areas. So not a natural distribution area for a black wildebeest. And most properties don't necessarily have the two because they can interbreed. I don't know if you'd call that a blue-black or you'd call it a brown if it mixes colors. Who knows? Who knows? But generally speaking, distributionally, they wouldn't occur in the same place, which is hence the reason why they wouldn't normally interbreed. But in some areas, people want to have sort of different animals in their collection, and they do mix the two, which is not ideal. Let me just go forward for you. We can also see... Oh, there's an impala in the background. There we go. So to the left of the wildebeest is one male impala, but I promise it was a springbuck earlier. That's also another species that you don't tend to find too many areas where they overlap. So this is one of those areas by natural and historical distribution, both impalas and springbuck overlap. But we certainly have a higher number of springbuck than we do impala, because they'd almost effectively be competing for a very similar thing. So we've got some, not quite meerkats, but we've got some ground squirrel foraging around just in front of the vehicle here. It's a nice little open clearing. So Morgan can pan around, all the way around, nice open clearing, and then just to the right there's one little ground squirrel. Good afternoon. There's about 3 or 4, there's a whole little family there. They're just busy foraging, looking for the fresh grass shoots. So meerkats and squirrels at Tswalu do tend to often live in the same burrow systems. They do share, but most often it's the squirrels that have made the holes. So we're going to send you back to Trish.
We have a really beautiful, well, not exactly setting sun just yet, but the cloud cover is really creating that impression. Well, it's not set, but it is setting. I'm just going to be quiet. We can enjoy this moment, but I'm more so quiet because I just heard one alarm call out in quarantine, which is not far from me. But I'm listening out for more. After a few seconds, after I've listened, we'll go and check it out. One alarm call is generally not a good sign, or not a great sign in terms of finding a predator, unless it's from a kudu or nyala or bushbuck, but not from an animal that's in a herd, a large herd like an impala. And we just heard one, but it's still worth checking out. So how about we go and see? I'm not too far. I'm just on the junction of Zoe's and Viatella access. Could have also just been the thunder, air pressure change or something like that that's getting them spooked. But we won't know until we go and see. Plus, because it was so warm when we started, and the sun was beating down when we started drive, and suddenly the storm has rolled in, and this cloud cover may have prompted predators to be on the move a little bit earlier. Even though it's warm, it's not that dry heat. It's that humid heat, which many humans don't like. But for a predator, it's much better than the beating down dry heat. You can see impalas. So on this end, I'm thinking, really it's Shudulu or Tlalamba. If there's a leopard down this side, there could also just be a hyena. But with all the grass, I couldn't tell where Shudulu had moved to, whether she moved further east, which would bring her this way, or west, which would take her into Simbambili. Okay, let us have a look. Okay, I see one impala, but I need to find that herd and watch them for a little bit. So I'm going to send you over to Tristan with a bird and a sunset.
You never know, Trish, until you investigate, indeed. So hopefully Trish will find Shudulu there somewhere. Maybe it's her, maybe it's Shumungwe, the little young male, possibly him. Could be around. You never know. Hopefully, whatever it is will reveal itself. As you can see, we're looking at sunset mixed with the bird of prey. It's another Wahlberg's eagle. And we've got, because I said that I haven't seen many of them, that they'll now be everywhere for the next few days. But it's sitting beautifully with the sunset kind of in the background. Still no sign of Cara anywhere. We've looked everywhere. We've kind of driven around the loops, the block, checked every single tree that I can. I don't know where she is. Maybe she's just right there and we just missed her. I honestly have no clue. So I'm just going to do one more bigger loop. So we're going to do a loop that's going to be a lot wider and going to take us a good 20 minutes to get back to her again, or to that tree again. And then hopefully by that point, she's found her way back to that carcass and potentially is feeding on it or up in the tree. It would be nice if that is the case, especially because there should be a really pretty sunset tonight. All this cloud should start to catch the light and give us a really nice amount of color. The other bit of good news is the storm has turned. It's gone more northwards, away from us, which is great because our fireside chat this evening would have been very, very difficult had we had a downpour of rain. It wouldn't have exactly worked for a fire. Isn't that spectacular though? Might just be able to pick up some frogs in the background as well, besides the radio and a fly buzzing around my head. Kind of the quintessential Africa, isn't it? It's the sunset, the sort of dead tree and
silhouette of some animal. In East Africa, it's often animals on the ground, but here in South Africa, a lot of our sunset kind of silhouettes are something that's up in a tree rather than on the ground itself. So it tends to be a lot more birds than mammals. But the humidity has just all of a sudden spiked again. I think with that rain not falling, it hasn't eased off. It still feels very, very warm this evening. And clammy is probably the best way to describe it. It doesn't feel as though the humidity has slacked off at all, even though we've had these kind of storms around us. And it's cleared up quite nicely now above us. There's really no sign of any more rain anywhere near us, which is good. Djuma can enjoy a break for a while. What's also been amazing about this year is the distribution of the rain and how patchy it has been. We've received a lot more rain than, let's say, the Timbavati. They haven't had nearly as much as what we have here. It's their turn to get a little bit for once. All right, well, let's carry on. Let's see if our loop yields anything by the time we get back to Kara's carcass.
As many of you know by now, one of our beloved leopard characters, Hukumuri, recently passed away. I would like to invite you to join me on Saturday the 20th of February as I take an intimate look into his life and pay tribute to the incredible cat that he was. I'm looking forward to seeing you around the fire at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
The croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want. The wildebeest cross is trying. The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky, lucky wildebeest. You have another day to live.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
We are enjoying the kudu, enjoying the sunset here on quarantine. Beautiful. Now, kudu alarm calls are so reliable. So considering that I heard one here from an impala, just heard it again. And now there's an impala off to the right here who's just gotten up and looked in that direction as well. I'm just going to move. I know it's such a beautiful scene, but he's just now picked up his head, this impala on the right. Kudu have still not reacted, but it's worth a try. So let's just move it. It's almost in the direction of camp. How pretty is this? So pretty. But So here's the male that was just kind of enjoying the sunset and then heard another impala alarm calling. Kudu are semi-paying attention. No? Okay. Alright, quick loop and then we can come back to these kudu. I feel like I'm riding into the sunset. Oh yes, I am, really. Driving into the sunset. One. I mean, there are only about 3 impala on quarantine today, which is a sign in itself. Normally they're all over the place. Nicanova, you'd like to know if a carcass can get too old and too rotten for a leopard to feed on. It is possible, but that rarely happens because leopards would eat their fair share. I mean, I'm not sure what Kara's carcass that she's got looks like, but if it's like half eaten and then it's gone pretty rancid, I could understand. But completely untouched or anything like that, there might be something fishy going on. Exactly what? Not sure. But there could come a point where it's just too much. Too rotten. But that takes a good couple days. That takes 5 days of it sitting there. And I've seen some leopards eating some pretty, what I thought was past sell-by date for a leopard. Here are impala, who are very, very chilled, very relaxed. There's even some guinea fowl nearby. They would be alarming if there was a problem. But it is telling that the impala are very, very close to camp. You saw the camp sign just now when we drove into these impala. That's quite common, you know, just one impala getting a little bit freaked out or even just getting a bit excitable and alarm calling or snorting. And that's why I say it's all worth the check out. It's always worth checking out because out here you just never know. So always worth it, but I knew it was fairly unreliable considering it's a herd animal and there was just one alarm calling. Levainland's cuckoo. A woodland kingfisher as well. It's just landed close to us. Huh. Interesting. I'm gonna stick around and watch these impalas because some of them are jumping about quite erratically, but then others are fighting, and I don't know if it's just a fun day out. You know, Saturday fun day out. Anyway. Leave you with our beautiful kingfisher and send you over to Pridelands.
Well, erratic behaving impala. Good luck, Trish. Hopefully that leads you to something. Well, everybody, it's that time of day. This beautiful Saturday. I'm not able to find you a cat today, so we're going to just give you a beautiful silent sunset.
There they're gone.
And it seems like there's lions abound on Ngala this afternoon. We were lucky enough to come across another pride of lions. And the rain's back as well. And you can see they've done the same, exactly the same as what the other pride did. They all went and they hid away in the nearest bush they can find. In this particular area, funnily enough, the young lion we saw just now and the few in front of us, which you can hardly see at this point. It's amazing how they lay their dead skull, only picking the ears because of the water drops falling on them. No. In this particular area, there's one tree in particular that the lions tend to use a lot. Whether it's the dry, warm winters or the very hot, humid and rainy summers. It's exactly the same. And that's the magic worry. You can see that young male lion there is hiding away from the rain under that quarry. It's quite a dense foliated tree, and therefore it provides very, very good cover. Even in the winter time, we always have, the leaves are always green. So it's not the most beautiful of trees, I think, for a lot of people that come to the bushveld, but it is a very, very useful tree indeed. Now, just have a look at that magnificent sunset. A huge storm building on the horizon. Definitely not a bad place to be. And these lions were quite active when we arrived just now, but now it seems the rain's completely interrupted their playfulness. And Morgan, they are actually quite far from where the other pride is. I mean, in terms of the distance that lions are able to walk within the evening or during a day, it's not very far. But it must be from here at least maybe 4 kilometers as the crow fly. And have a look, these two lions off here over the left, these two off to the two lines off to the left of us now. You can see they look like they're similar in age. I can see that one that's coming around now. Look at his left ear. It looks like he's almost missing half of it. And these two are quite pale as well. They must be from the same litter. Now, I haven't personally seen this part of the pride in quite a while, I know that there's one female with a short tail, which is one of the lead lionesses within this pride, and that's how we identify them. But they move in a part of the reserve where it's quite tricky to keep a good eye on them and know what they're up to the whole time. I do know that there's a lot of young males within this pride. From what I've counted now, at least 5. And then at the moment, it looks like the 3 oldest lionesses within the pride is also here. But I remember the last time I saw them, there were 2 young males, but at least a year and a half older than these guys with them. And I don't see them here at the moment. But then again, with this long grass, it's very, very difficult to tell. Murphy's mom, do lion prides try to avoid each other? Yes, they do. I guess it does depend a little bit on the situation. In this case, this pride is actually related to the pride with the white lions. At least the older females are. But they do tend to avoid each other. And that's also because their offspring, if they have, it must have been very rarely that they can count the others. And because all of them having, if they had to be together, it would have put an enormous strain on the older lionesses to try and hunt to have enough food for all of these young males to eat. But in general, if lion prides are not related, they'll try and avoid each other like the plague, especially if the one pride has more males than the others. And I have seen with some of the lions in this area, they tend to dominate over other prides, and whenever they do encounter each other around carcasses or a situation where there's a free meal available, then they'll usually chase the other pride off. And then, of course, males. If there's a big pride with big males and another pride with cubs that's unrelated to those males, then they'll definitely avoid that pride of lions. In this case, so this pride became so big, but the older lionesses and the ones where you can see up ahead hiding away under those trees, they do and have on occasions met up with the older lionesses in the pride with the white lions. I remember a few years ago we had a coalition of at least 5 males in this area, and they were dominant over most of Ngala, and they had all, the first time we actually saw them, we saw all the lionesses, these lionesses as well as the older lionesses in the other pride, together with the 5 males. And they have been seen together once or twice afterwards. Even with cubs from the different prides. But in that case, the fathers were the same. And what I like about this pride is they're normally quite active during the daytime, and you can see, anybody ever wondered what they do during the rain? And then this is it. They hide. Leo, do normal lions see the white lions as different? I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. They must notice the variation in the color. Even for an animal that can't see color the way we do, they must notice that they are lighter. I do think that within pride dynamics, it's easy to notice the white ones, and it's often easier to point out the situations where it looks where the rest of the pride might be picking on them. But I think it might just be because it's more noticeable. I can see a lot of grooming going on at the moment and some tails flicking, so... And the rain's also stopped suddenly. So I'm hoping if you can see the two older lioness there rubbing heads. What I might do is try and reposition C. If we might be able to get a better view of them. And in the meantime, we'll send you over to Tristan, who's busy looking for a leopard.
Well, unlike Yapi's lions that have been good to him and played the game, Kara has not appeared. We've checked again, still no sign of her. So just slowly bumbling down Viertele access in case Shidulu pops out here somewhere. Normally she goes towards the power lines and then along the power lines towards the open clearing. So I'm just bumbling along and hopefully she'll kind of make an appearance somewhere here. But it's sad that we didn't get to spend time with Kara this afternoon. I'm also intrigued by her behavior. Davi was actually telling me that he had a sighting once with Lauren. I mean, she had a jackal and she just put it up the tree and then abandoned it and never came back to it. So I don't know if it's something that she's done before, or if there's a reason for this. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she just felt like there was vehicles, or from where that tree is, there's a camp not too far away and there's lots of monkeys there. And this morning the monkeys were shouting at her. So maybe she just feels like she's very visible there during the day and should rather only feed at night. I don't know. She didn't seem perturbed by it this morning or yesterday afternoon. So I'm kind of surprised by her sort of genuine disinterest in that kill over the course of the last sort of 24 hours. I would have thought we would have seen a lot more interest from her in wanting to feed off it. Alright, let's see if Shidulu's come down this way. She likes to kind of get to this tree here and then she... Ellie. Hello, Ellie. Maybe this is an Ellie that Trish has already had today. I'm not sure. I know she was in this area just now. So it's very possible that she saw this bull earlier. There's a number of these bulls that are still hanging around eating the very, very, very last of the marula fruits that are left. Unlike our camp marula, which seems to be endless in its supply of massive marula fruits, the outside ones are all but dry. You know, you always know because you can drive in the mornings, and when it's height of marula season, doesn't matter how many elephants have been around, there's always a couple lying underneath the tree on the roads, and I haven't seen any in the last few days on the roads themselves. The only ones that I have seen have been very, very kind of small, and a lot of them are overripe, which means that they've fallen a few days ago already. He's obviously finding some, though, under this particular tree. It's not a tree that I've actually really noticed Ellie's under very often. There's certain trees that you see the Ellie spending most of their time under, and I would imagine that, like most things, each marula tree is different, and some marulas probably have better flavor than others, and the Ellies will eventually start to work it out. They're pretty clever, so they'll know. I'm going to just try and go forward a little bit. Talking about marulas, I actually brought a marula from camp because I wanted to show you guys how much bigger they are, and the monkeys stole them and ate them, and they obviously made such a mess with the marulas, and the juice obviously went everywhere, but I've actually got their tracks on my dashboard. Nothing but leaves, I'm afraid, boy. Let's see if he tries again. Did you hear them? So from here, I just heard a marula drop on the roof at camp. The ones that we have inside our camp, I can hear the noise from here. That's how loud it is when they hit. But here you can see the little monkey tracks going across the kind of dashboard. So that's the back of the foot. So this will be the little sort of triangular pad. And then here at the front are the little toes going forward. So that's a foot covered in marula juice that then walked all over the dashboard of the car. I actually only noticed it literally 5 minutes ago. You'd think that we would have kind of noticed it earlier on in the day, but alas, for some reason I wasn't paying attention. I'm just going to try again just to go a little bit further forward, just to see if we can get his face again. I can't believe that you can hear those marulas dropping from here in camp. And we're not exactly that close. It's a fair distance away. No wonder people get PTSD from that tree. This one's still got quite a lot, so if he shakes this marula that he's under at the moment, he should get a fair amount of them falling on top of him. So we'll just wait and see if he does do it. It's quite forceful for that last one. Normally they kind of push their head up a little bit, and then here we go. I'm just going to keep quiet so you can hear them dropping if he does do it. He's gone right up to where the base is. No. Maybe he's finding enough that he doesn't need to. That tree got spared a thorough shaking. You can see it's still very hot and humid. You can notice how much his ears are flapping. Swain, but once, so a lot of them, well, most of them fall off the tree when they're still green, and then it takes them about, depending on conditions, if it's very hot and they're left in a place where the sun hits them, then they ripen much faster, but you're normally looking at between 2 and 4 days for them to ripen. They ripen pretty fast. It's not a slow process once they're off the tree itself. But in terms of how long it actually takes for the fruit to develop and ripen on the tree, lots of big bull swagger in that step. It's about, you start to see the fruits in December, so it's over a month that you see them growing and developing on the tree itself. Off he goes down the road. The route I was going to go to check if Shaduli was around, but if he's going that way, she will make way for him pretty quickly. Alright, talking of Trish, let's send you across to her and we'll carry on, see what else we can find.
Here at the den, and everybody is out, except for the littlest one. And Ruben and Antima are the 2 adults around. My goodness, there's such a pink hue to everything that the grass or the sand almost looks like swallow. Now, I also had a marula for you, and I said it to you at the beginning of drive, and I was going to show it to you, and then I forgot and I ate it. So I must apologize. Oh, look at this. Ruben has really been very consistent with her stretching lately, and you can see that in her performances. Pointed toes, back bends, and Antima is not quite there. Hasn't been as consistent with her stretching. Hello, little hooligans. Four of these little ones are now around the car, and you know how difficult it is to show them to you when they're so close. Hey. You are going to give me a flat tire if you keep doing that. very comfortable. Ribbons one here. Hey! Looks like Antima's just gone to the den entrance. Possibly to call out her little one to have a bit of an evening feed. They'll usually feed in the mornings and the evenings. Megan, you say how adorable. Absolutely, and as always, very, very adorable. This one is... Okay, guys. My shoes are really not that fascinating. What I figured that they actually do when they, it's not actually the actual biting of the rubber of the tire that causes a problem. It's that they bite the valve, and then you can't get the cap on, and then it just leaks. Oh, I have some interesting play happening here. This color is just beautiful. The scene is beautiful. I'm gonna swing. Ooh, that's my head in the way. Sorry. Swing all the way around this side. Oh, and she's just gone down. And Tima's little one is popping its head out every now and then. Three generations here at the den. How awesome is that? Oh, there's that little head, just in time as I send you off to Yapi and his lions.
Yeah. And I was wondering where those two were earlier. They've just popped out of the long grass behind the guari. And those are the two larger young males. And these two, I'm not entirely sure how old they are. I think they're about 3 years old, more or less. And yes, they are still with the pride. But they're looking very healthy and strong. And they're in a very playful mood as well, which is excellent. You can see, look at the one on the right is blatantly. Ooh. Seeing big cats play, in fact, especially lions play, got a spectator. Now, young male lions at this age, they do often tend to play, and sometimes quite rough. But that was fairly playful and tame. But in a way like that, they also kind of slowly but surely start to establish a little bit of a hierarchy and a dominance. You know which one is the stronger, the bigger one. If I had to take a guess, judging from his mane as well as his size, I'll go for the one in the front. And you can see the lions are turning their heads off in a different direction, and that's because it was the sound of hyenas. And quite excited hyenas, a noise that you'd usually associate with hyenas feeding. You can see it's drawn their attention. And you can hear hyenas calling all around us at this point now. It's the young lions that's up and listening, but I'm sure the lionesses are also picking up on it. And that's the time of the day that they also start to get moving. Oscar, how long does it take for a lion's mane to fully grow? And that's a very interesting question because it depends on the lion itself. But I have noticed that lions' manes keep growing throughout their life. The older they get, the darker it gets, the fuller it gets. Two of the dominant males in this particular area that we see a lot, their manes have only really started getting full now, and they are now already almost 11 years old, where normally when a lion reaches about 7, 8 to 9, when it's in its high prime, that's usually when the mane is considered to be full. But then also I've seen lions whose mane is quite full from an early age onwards. And I've noticed two of the young males, this one rolling around closest to us, he's actually got quite a bit of mane. Oh, look, a hyena. There's a hyena that's just joined us on the other side of the vehicle. And I think this hyena's probably come from for the same reason as the lions. It's also heard hyenas calling, hyenas being excited far off. Now it's come to investigate, and that's and that is how hyenas go when they see lions. I don't think the lions even noticed it. Like, especially not these young guys. It's amazing with all these eyes and being lions, and we always hear people talk about how alert they can be, what they can do, and then you notice that once something like the hyenas sneak up on them that closely, then it's actually, you do start to ask yourself the question, like, how alert are they really? And I think what I'm going to do is we're going to turn on the infrared. It looks like one of the older lionesses have just started moving. They're moving along a game path parallel to the road, and I'm sure the rest of these lions are going to follow now. So I think we might try and see if we can follow them as well.
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm from South Africa, and I'm the incredibly lucky winner of the Tswalu competition. Tswalu has so much to offer, but we're really looking forward to the game viewing options, as going out with a personal guide who has so much knowledge will just be exceptional. Motsi Lodge looks absolutely amazing, and we're so looking forward to spending time there. It really is out of this world. I only registered as an explorer towards the end of January, so when the email arrived stating that I was the winner, it took me totally by surprise. I'd just like to thank WildEarth and Twalu for this most incredible prize. It really is a dream come true.
WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
The reason why we see that wildebeest by himself is because he's a male, or a bull, as we typically would call him. And what he does is that he marks and defends an area. Essentially, he is looking for the ultimate piece of land or prime property. Needs to have good grazing, needs to have a water source close by. And not too far away from here, there's a sickle bush thicket that would provide just enough shelter from the wind and the rain.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that is truly, truly magical.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
At the den, there was suddenly a sound, and everybody left. And some of the cubs went with the adults too. So obviously they heard something in the distance that had gotten their attention, which meant that we had to leave too. But then we encountered this green pea spider building its web for the evening. You can see the fine work it's done so far. And now it's just got that little bit to go. I find it very therapeutic to watch spiders build their web. So methodical. So symmetrical. I love geometric patterns. It reminds me of watching people hand make rugs. Their hands seem to know exactly what to do. And they move in this trance-like, movement, and the spiders do a similar thing. That little triangular thing that's gotten stuck in the web towards the bottom of the screen, that just got stuck in the web, and that green pea spider rushed over, wrapped it in some silk, and continued with its construction for the evening. Now it's just hanging around in the middle. And they literally do hang. That's how they don't get stuck in their own webs. Is that they use the end of their feet to hang on or off the web. They don't actually put their weight kind of solidly onto the web. You're all commenting on how quick he is. Absolutely, really, really quick. Now it's time to sit, relax, and wait for dinner to accumulate on the web. Ravinda, you say nature at its best. Absolutely. Little things doing incredible incredible actions, feats that are unimaginable on a macro scale. Can you imagine us, how long it would take us to build a web like this? And it's so perfect. Oscar, you'd like to know what the spider intends to catch when it makes a web like this. Any flying insects would be its target. Prehistoric spiders, or ancient spiders, would still produce silk, but they would not produce webs across trees and things like that. They'd leave silk trails with pheromones, and sometimes burrows. In fact, we still get spiders that build burrows along the ground. And it's only when flying insects came onto the scene that web construction across trees. Ooh, something in the top of the web there. It's only at that point that this kind of web was built. It made sense because the type of prey they wanted to catch now, the type of prey that was now abundant, required them to change their strategy. So flying insects is what it is after. I think what's actually happened at the top there is there was a large moth that touched the web. And I think it's left some of its scales on it. Now, that's another adaptation that flying insects, moths and butterflies, or lepidopterans, had developed in order to avoid being caught in a web, and those are those scales. You know, when you catch a moth or you touch it, then some of that dust kind of rubs off on you. Those are scales, and that helps it to escape being caught in a web. But if they lose too many of those scales, then it will hinder their flight. Avril, you'd like to know if they build a new web every day. Yes, because catching insects, sorry, my hand just got tired. Catching insects in the web damages the web. So they will build a new one every day, particularly for small spiders like this. For larger spiders, they will tend to, like an orb web spider, they'll tend to keep the same kind of structural portions to the web, the fundamental kind of scaffolding, and then repair any damage as they go. And if it's too bad, then they'll eat their web and start again. Anyway, I am going to keep on moving. This was fabulous, and I'm going to send you over to those lions.
So these lions have just gotten up and walked into the darkness, and now they are completely gone. I can't see any of them anymore at the moment. Oh, there we go, there's one more. And if I'm not, that looks like a lioness. Maybe it's the other one of the young males. But they were all laying down on the ground, and then all the lionesses were moving into the direction where that lion is going now. And look how beautiful that pink glow in the background is. Now, I suspect that maybe they've started hunting something, and often find that when lionesses start the hunt, the young males will be laying around on the road nearby or in open spaces nearby until they realize that the lionesses are moving with intent, and then they usually start to follow them. Now, we're just gonna go out of the infrared light to have a look at the sky for a few seconds. It's unbelievably beautiful at the moment. In fact, it's a real spectacle. But I can see hyena coming off on our right, coming straight towards us. Now, this hyena is probably the same one that we had earlier that was running away from the lion. And you can see it stuck around. But the hyena is very clever like that. You can see, look at the nose, the head's up high. It's trying to have a look out to see where the lions are, but it's going to keep its distance. It's not going to just go straight in one direction that I think they might be, because it knows that there might be a few spread out and there might be one or two lagging behind the rest of the pride, which for that hyena won't be very good. There's another one that's just joined into. You can hear one calling. Thought I heard a lion call off to our left now. Yeah, this is amazing. After the little bit of rain we had and stopped, like the bush is really coming alive now. And I think maybe if we just sit and listen out for a minute or two, it is unbelievable. From everywhere, from every corner of the reserve almost, I can hear hyenas calling. And that's how they communicate. Jerome, very good question. Why would the hyenas risk their life following that pride of lions, especially if they have that many young males with them? Because there's a chance that they might kill something, the lions I mean, and then if the hyenas are lucky enough, they might actually be able to get some of that spoils, all the remains that's left over. So for the hyena, it's actually well worth it, to be honest. It's a very intelligent animal. It knows, it reads the movements of other large predators like the leopard or the lion, on occasions the cheetah, very well, and will follow it. Just have a look at that beautiful moon. You can see there's a lot of moisture in the air, so it's has a glow around it at the moment. Hello. This is an amazing evening. I think we might sit here for a while longer and listen, but I think we're gonna go over to Trish and Djuma.
A beautiful moon indeed. We were also looking at it a little bit earlier. It's just a stunning, stunning sky this evening, as it was yesterday. I think that today might be just a tiny bit better. It's always difficult, though, to make that judgment. So we've left our spider, left our hyenas, or well, they left us. And now we're slowly making our way to where a lot of action happens in the evenings, that being quarantine. But on the way, I'm having a careful look for any other little critters that I may find. Particularly a chameleon. So far, not so good. I've searched for them most evenings, unless we had another sighting. And I haven't been successful. That's not very nice. I feel it's my duty to show you a chameleon at least once every stint of mine. And given that it's been rainy for quite a number of days, in fact weeks prior to this, and this is the last few days have been the first bit of sunshine in a while, I'm surprised that there aren't as many out as I would have thought. But I am also on the lookout for, let's go this way, for some owls, things like that. That'd be nice. Maybe a white-tailed mongoose, and then a leopard, of course. That would be great. But we have to make space in our heads for even these other smaller, cool creatures. A puff adder as well. That would be nice. All the animals we can look forward to seeing in the evenings. And a scrub here. Just saw one bounce away. Well, I'm going to keep on bumbling. Hopefully I'll get lucky with one of the animals that I mentioned to you, and I'm going to send you over to Swallow.
So, all the way out to the west in the Kalahari, our sun hasn't set just yet. We're almost there, but we're just going to keep silent for a minute or two just to let you hear all the barking geckos. They just, since it got a little bit cooler, they're all kak, 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 kak. You can just listen to them. believe everyone is loving the sunset. So are the little barking geckos. I haven't heard this many for such a long time. We're obviously just in an area that's quite dense with them. They'll be hiding. They're so difficult to actually find to put on the TV for you. They're hiding in like a little hole in the ground, and then they just literally stick their head out the entrance, and they make that little barking sound. So very difficult to actually see them. But just really, really beautiful day.
So the pride of lions have moved off, and at the moment, it's too wet to follow them. I'm pretty sure that they were looking to hunt. Now, I heard the other pride, that must be at least 4 kilometers away from here, calling earlier as well. So it's been quite an eventful afternoon, to say the least. But I think for now, what we're doing is we are not too far from the Timbavati riverbed. So we're currently trying to see if we might get lucky with any nocturnal animals on the road, or near the road now. Because of that rain we had earlier, a lot of territorial animals are gonna have to remark their territory because their scent's washed off now, and animals like the lion, like the leopard, female leopard in this area, a big male leopard. I know this particular road that we're on gets patrolled by a female leopard, 2 different female leopards actually, as well as a very big male leopard. And if we're really lucky, we might be lucky enough to get a glimpse of that. Otherwise, all the smaller nocturnal animals, like the smaller cats, maybe African wildcat. That's actually something I haven't seen in a very, very long time. And with the grass being as tall as it is at the moment, it will be quite tricky. Linda, what nocturnal animals do we get on Ngala? There are many. I can list you a few of my favorite ones, which would be the African wildcat, the caracal, the hyena for sure, the African civet. This particular area, we've got both large spotted and small spotted genet. Serval, if we're lucky. Aardvark. Mongooses, well, white-tailed mongoose. And then something that's very, very rare on Ngala is the pangolin. And then, of course, lion. And there's a few nocturnal birds which I haven't noticed yet, but I think it's because the road's wet. Like the bronzed wing courser. Occasionally we'll have nightjar sit on the road. And then also the bush baby. Now, normally with a spotlight or a torch, you'll be able to see the reflection of the eyes, and with the bush baby, it's a very, very bright, very easy to see red color. So you can spot it from far off. And I'm hoping along this denser areas closer to the riverbed, we might find some because of the bigger trees around here. There's a few impala standing off to our right, and because they are animals that mainly move during the daytime and at nighttime they at rest, their eyesight is better adapted for daytime seeing, and we often just dim our lights a little bit, not to shine the light directly into their eyes. Otherwise, it will take them a little while before they readapt to the darkness, and we would technically be putting them at a disadvantage. Predators like us know where the impalas overnight, or other general game like the zebra, and that's why they might be on the prowl, they might be nearby, looking out for any injured animals within that herd or any animal that stray off. But I think while we continue our search for nocturnal animals, we'll send you over to Trish, who's also busy looking for some nighttime animals.
Oh, good luck, Yapi. It's nice that you're going to go look for some bush babies. I actually forgot about those. That would be a real treat if we got to see a bush baby. I am still on the lookout for any of the animals I told you about. Up in the trees for owls, in the grass and in the bushes for chameleons. Chameleons, of course, not nocturnal, but easier to find in the darkness. Lots of spider webs around. That's always delightful to see. I love when there's lots of spider webs that are built overnight, and then if we go out really, really early, and it's been quite a moist evening and night, then all this dew. Ooh, there's a sizer of a spider. Let's see if we can get us much closer. That's a big web. Can't see what it is, but it's a big spider, so I'm going to wait till Paul gets us a nice view, and I'll be able to tell you what it is. Oops, sorry, my spotlight is falling all over the place. There we go. Almost. There we go. It's a bark spider. Its web is quite broken up and quite, actually quite untidy. There it goes. That's quite a big guy. I get the stench of stink bug around me. Look at that. Bark spiders can be really easy to identify. In fact, they're the spider that builds the largest web. I think they hold the record for the largest web. And you can see they have two horn-like protrusions on their abdomen, which is really a good indicator. Apart from that, the big web, and they're also quite a sizable spider. Again, just hanging around, waiting for dinner. That is a big guy. That is so nice. I wonder if you can hear all these little bugs knocking into me and the vehicle. Given him pause, like he's had enough. He's put my presenter light off. I think the light of my headlights may be enough for us to see the spider while I have a quick look around the bushes here in case I see some other friends of note. Whoa, okay, hitting into my face now. No other friends of note just yet. So how about we keep on driving a little bit. Stink bugs are truly, they're not smelly, they're just, oh, here we go. You know, we always tell you about a stink bug, but have you even seen one? It's this guy right here. Now I'm gonna get stank out. Hey, wait, I want to show you to the world. Wait, that is a stink bug, everybody. Off it goes. It's got this kind of really intense smell. Oh, no, one's just gone in my nose. Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. It's just went into my nose. They smell chemically and like bad cologne. It's formaldehyde that's causing that smell. Anyway, I'm going to keep on moving so that these insects aren't so attracted to me.
As many of you know by now, one of our beloved leopard characters, Hukumuri, recently passed away. I would like to invite you to join me on Saturday the 20th of February as I take an intimate look into his life and pay tribute to the incredible cat that he was. I'm looking forward to seeing you around the fire at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at WildEarth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you're going to have to register on the website, but once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
What makes Djuma Private Game Reserve so special is our massive array of habitats. And with that comes, of course, a beautiful diversity of landscapes, but also an incredible biodiversity in terms of plants, bird life and animal life, as well as, of course, our conservation success stories with cheetah, with rhinos, now with pangolins too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
It seems that today is an evening of spiders. Here's another one of those bark spiders building its web. Because they're nice and big, you can really get to have a good look at exactly what it does. You'll see it pull the web, the silk strands from its abdomen, and then touch it. Why have you stopped? And then they touch it to the edges to build that radial shape that we know with their leg. Very nice. I think it's actually responding to the light being shone on it. So we're going to move off, but I'm going to show you very quickly. If I move my spotlight up, so this is the big web. You can see the general web. This round bit, right? You see the extent of it. But if I move off to the left, it attaches, because I can actually see the shine. It attaches all the way onto that branch, and then it moves similarly off in the other direction. So across, that's at least 8 meters. The space that it's used to construct its web. The actual radial bit of it, not 8 meters, maybe just 1 meter across, but the entirety of that first kind of scaffolding line is about 8 meters long. Really cool. Anyway, I'm going to leave it because it seems to be affected by the light. Oh, well, let's see. We're in IR now, and that would be an interesting experiment. Put my spotlight away. Oh, these stink bugs. Well, that's very, very interesting, and I think something to be learned here. We're in infrared now, and the spotlight is off. And often we think, oh, we shouldn't spotlight these large animals because we're compromising them somehow. And we don't really think about the smaller animals. We don't really think about spiders and insects or reptiles. And clearly, our light has stopped it from wanting to proceed in building its web. And now that we're in infrared, it's continuing. There we go. So you watch it pull the silk from its abdomen and then touch the abdomen. There we go. And touch. And touch. It pulls it out with its back legs and then touches that abdomen to the area. Oh, that is amazing. With such precision as well. And this is something that they are born knowing how to do. While we're therapeutically watching the spark spider go about its evening business, I will tell you that a hyena came trotting past us and then got a fright. I couldn't ID it. It was too quick. And then got a fright when a scrub hare jumped up from in front of it and sprinted away. It was quite funny. You see some crazy and quite amusing things out here. So beautiful. What a wonderful way to end our drive, considering we started our drive with the biggest mammal and land mammal in the world, the African elephant, and now we're finishing with one of these tiny creatures. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for your questions and your comments. We'll see you tomorrow morning.